Robbie, mashallah. We met Robbie. So Robbie, so you explain yourself, Robbie. What do you do?
Okay, okay, I will sanitize this up. Yeah, okay. Um, just talk straight normally. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Welcome everybody. I hope everybody's staying safe. Um, okay, I've just been talking to these guys in Sheffield City Centre. I've just come up to spend the day with my daughter, and one of the questions I would like to ask is, if you were to sit down on a bus next to whoever you believe in spiritually, what question would you ask that said person? So, you know, if you believe in Jesus, if you sat down next to Jesus, what would you ask him on the bus? Or whoever you believe in spiritually. If you were Muslim, what would you ask your maker? What would be that first question you would ask that individual? Continue to stay safe. Thank you. Okay,
I'll,
my
I'll,
friend.
I'll carry this conversation on because that's a real like. To be honest, we always ask the question to many
Okay.
people,
Yeah.
and what's the purpose of life?
Okay.
That's something that we ask, isn't it? So that question that you're asking, so you do like you didn't mention this, but you do that's your icebreaker questions. You train young
Yes.
people and
Indeed.
for your business wherever. So what we always say to people is, what's the purpose of life? So like for example, everything that we have, like you got a mask on, we know the purpose of your mask. Your jacket, we know the purpose. Everything that we do within life, there's always a reason that we're doing it. And the question that you've asked is touching on that basis. So we say as Muslims, in the verse in the Quran that says, it says that the man and jinn were created. Jinns, like we believe that an extra being amongst us. We say man and jinn were created to worship, to acknowledge God. So we like that question that you. If I was to ask that question, I would maybe ask the Prophet Muhammad peace be upon him. If it was me, like how did you feel when you were in the presence of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala? How did it feel when you were like speaking to Allah? That would be something I would ask. But the question that you're touching on is generally the. I think it's like your purpose, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, when I ask this question at work with people who I'm training, and when it comes to my answer would be, if I were to sit next to who I believe in spiritually, why is there a cancer? Why is there a disease? Why is there COVID-19? You know, that's got to be created by somebody. Why? What are the higher persons trying to tell us? Because this year alone, 127,000 people lost their lives. Why? There's got to be some reason, why COVID has come and affected every corner of this globe. It's touched everybody's lives.
No, it's a good question because I'll answer from like an Islamic perspective. So the question you're asking is to do more with like it's to do with like suffering, isn't it? Why is there suffering?
Yeah.
Why is there badness in the world? Now, as Muslims, we said you can only experience badness if you have goodness. Yeah.
Okay.
So, if for example, if everything was, let's say, nobody died, or like let's say there was no hardship in the world, you would not know what's good in the world as well. So you would just be going through this mindset that everything is everything is as it is. So we say there's bad and there's good. So for example, even in times and in the worst situations, you get some of the best things happening as well. For example, when there's a natural disaster,
Yeah.
from that natural disaster, etc., you'll get the best people doing the best work as well.
Yeah.
Like for example, the charity that work that happens. You have all the, people raising money for charity, going out there trying to help the humanitarian stuff. The love and connection that happens amongst people, even in this, even if you look at COVID-19, yes, so many people have been stuck in their own houses. Yeah, how many people have started asking themselves the question like, why am I here for? Even so, people have been in lockdown. Some people have just been like binging on Netflix and just making YouTube videos and TikTok videos. But some people have been thinking, there's got to be a higher purpose behind my living here.
Yeah. I mean, with every disaster that comes creativity. I mean, if you look at COVID, in terms of Zoom calling, people have had to get educated on contact and communication, especially with people, different parts of the globe. initiatives, inventions, like you say. Um, it brings out the human nature in people. Disasters, checking on neighbours, clapping for carers, etc. In prayer,
Yeah.
I think that's one thing that everybody has suffered with during this COVID pandemic. I've known people that have been lost during this pandemic, and you haven't been able to attend a funeral to send those individuals off. And under normal circumstances, we'd be able to celebrate that individual's life, whereby we haven't been able to do that last year, even this year currently. Um, and that's been sad. That's been hard on families. You haven't been able to go around people's homes, which we would normally do as Black British, to support the family. Yeah, it's just been tough. We just had to find different ways of sharing grief.
But in terms of that, like for example, like remember before this COVID thing happened, everyone was talking about the national NHS. Oh, it's not doing well. It's suffering. And how much do we, as a country now, appreciate the NHS for what they do?
Absolutely.
And that appreciation now has come because maybe of COVID-19, we respect our doctors, our nurses so much more for putting their lives at risk, etc.
Where you go?
His daughters have walked past now. They're going to next, so you're stuck with me for.
They need to hurry up. I'm getting hungry now.
Well, you're standing behind Krispy Kreme donuts.
Yeah, NHS. Yeah, I mean, we're quite fortunate in this country that, like in Jamaica and probably some Asian African countries, they have to pay for their level of care. We don't over here. So yeah, goes off to all, care workers, NHS workers, everybody, all the emergency workers, to be honest.
But the other thing about, the question you asked about suffering was, so there's one thing, the element of goodness comes into it. The other thing is that we, as Muslims, be that no one gets tested beyond the ability. Yeah. So no one, no individual, no human being will be tested beyond the ability that they cannot handle. So when someone gets put into a test, we say that test will not be beyond their capability as a human being. They will always be able to keep patient, and you'll be, because remember, we say this life is a test. Because we say not everything's going to be, somebody might have all the goodness in this world, but they might be wretched people. But that's not fair. So Allah is the most just, so He will judge everyone fairly to what they've been given. So sometimes, I was listening to this video this morning about the rapper who earns so much money. He's living the lifestyle that many would dream about, but he's suffering inside. They can't sleep, and they struggle. They have this issue with contentment, and that contentment of peace and tranquility only comes really when like we as Muslims, we have this tranquility because we believe that the God, we believe that the higher being, we believe in this force that is with us. We believe that we're going to be judged and we're going to live our life in a righteous way, and that gives you contentment, because there's a verse in the Quran that says that verily within the remembrance of God, do hearts find rest. So, and as I can say to you, that when we remember Allah, when we remember God, Brother Khalik over here as well, when we go pray and read the Quran, we find a contentment within ourselves that we can't find in other things. That contentment is not found within money. It's not found within like women. It's not found within drugs. That contentment that we're searching for, this peace, is only found within the remembrance of God. I don't know if you agree to that or disagree.
Yeah, I do. Like I say, I mean, I was brought up in a religious household, more so by my mum than my father, in a Pentecostal church. Funny enough, I have my mum's Bible that she first brought to this country from the Caribbean. As the eldest boy, it was agreed that I would save this. It's going to be passed down to my daughters. So yeah, I mean, religion is massive. I mean, with all due respect, I think that whoever you believe in religiously, it should be. You should not be penalised for your religious beliefs. I mean, the only the difficulty I have here within the UK is, you go to churches. Churches don't encourage people to worship or pray. I mean, the churches I've been to, whether it's Derby or Stoke, or they're all built, they're freezing cold. You know what I mean? Yeah, they're not warming and welcoming, are they? And how do you encourage young people, like my daughter's age, into the church? Especially when, being black, I've been to West Indian churches. I've also been to English churches. Now, West Indian churches seems to be a celebration thing, whereas a celebration of life, whereas white churches tend to be all doom and gloom and, a bit boring. Yeah. So, how do we continue? I mean, I obviously moved away from the church. You get older, you discover other things. But, every now and then, I'd say about twice a year, I will go to church. I'll try and go Christmas. I'm not an avid church goer. No, I'm not. Funny enough, I keep getting Zoom, WhatsApp Zoom messages from a local pastor that laid my mum and dad to rest. And I haven't even been on one of his Zoom things that he's done since this pandemic started. So I imagine when I see Pastor Hales, he's gonna
He's gonna have a go at you.
he's
gonna
gonna
have a
be
go.
he's gonna have a go, guy. He's gonna have a pop at me.
But
He is definitely.
the question I would ask is, I have to ask this question is, obviously, you do you believe? I'm guessing you believe in a God.
Yes, I do.
Now, from a Muslim perspective, we respect all different religions,
Mm-hmm.
but we as Muslims we don't believe that Jesus Christ
Mm-hmm.
is God Himself, or
Mhm.
we don't believe that Jesus Christ is the literal Son of God.
Mm-hmm.
So, in terms of our beliefs as Muslims, we believe that Allah is one. We believe that Allah just means the God.
Yeah.
The word Allah just is literal translation as the God because the word it comes from the root word ilah. So we say that there can only be one God.
Mm-hmm.
We say that God could not have had children,
Yeah.
and he could not have died on the cross. So, with taking that into mind, does the Muslim concept of God make more sense to you, or the Christianity concept?
Both. To be honest, I don't believe that God is white. Well, I don't believe God is white because yeah, when yeah, no color because people that wrote the Bible, everything in the Bible is white. But if you look at the first people on this planet, on the earth, they're probably Romans, weren't they? The Romans were dark. They weren't white. So, we are, to a degree, we are brainwashed to believe that Christianity is all about white, blonde hair, blue eyes, and all that sort of shenanigans. You don't stay that white if you're living in Jerusalem in these hot countries, yeah? So,
But
God,
that was
God
more.
is all colours.
But I think that was more to. This is going to history now. When Christianity kind of went from uh, East Europe and when it went into Western Europe, that's when it became a white. You could call it whitewash, but the Western media started portraying people as being white Jesus
Yeah,
Christ.
yeah, yeah.
Everyone knows that Jesus Christ was a Jew himself, etc. So
Yeah.
I think that was something that was pushed by the Western media at a later point in time, and also sorry for me saying from your being from a black sort of cultural
Yeah.
background, and if you look at the Atlantic slave trade,
Yeah.
when the Americans had their black slaves, for them to make portray Jesus Christ as white back then would have made it seem as if to the black slaves that God is white, so they are superior.
Yeah.
And it was, and I think it was a way of also trying to make slavery acceptable to the black slaves themselves.
Yeah.
So do you understand where I'm coming
Yeah,
from?
I do. Yeah.
I think your daughter's back.
Oh, you're here. Right, I'm right. I'm coming now. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
He's become Muslim.
Yeah. I'm getting there. I'm getting there. Yeah. People will always try to keep people down, i.e., when we're talking about slavery, the white landowners will always, they're the ones on the hill with the money in the big house. So there was a particular saying, money isn't everything. And that's what come from them white slave owners. That's what they used to say to the black people to keep them still working in the cotton fields and keep them down below. Money isn't everything. And that is a slave term that was passed down to the slaves, again, so they wouldn't revolt. They'd keep doing what they're doing, and they'd keep everything sweet, and the landowners would prosper.
They were forced to kind of accept Christianity. Many slaves did back then accept it. If you look at many of the slaves, they came from Muslim backgrounds.
Yeah.
They didn't have the respect for how dress and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It came from like Muslim style. It wasn't like white culture.
No, I don't believe it was a no, it wasn't the white culture. No.
Yeah. So everything like respect as well. Respect.
Indeed, gentlemen, listen.
Yeah.
I got
Why didn't you tell them you became Muslim and then let's see what they say?
My daughter, she's got a lot of Muslim friends, JS,
Okay.
yeah, in Stoke and down here. Yeah, and she's also a vegetarian.
Yeah, I'd love to carry on the conversation,
Yes.
but what I'm gonna tell my audience what you didn't tell them was that you actually fought for a Muslim prayer room in your workplace.
Damn right I did.
And
Yeah, absolutely.
he fought for a Muslim
Absolutely.
workplace.
Yeah.
Inshallah. So this,
It's been good talking to you.
Yeah.
I'll see you next
all right,
time. You're
brother.
up here,
All right,
yeah?
brother. Have a good day,
yeah.
bro.
Gentlemen, take care. Stay safe.